She loves her husband, but she doesn't feel satisfied in bed. Now, their therapist, knowing this, tries to win her over at all costs. Let's find out what happens next. Kindly subscribe to this channel to get more of our latest stories. The movie begins in a club, where various people are enjoying themselves. A young man named Zaki spots a woman, approaches her, and eventually goes to her home. They make love, but while she wanted more, because he hadn't yet reached his peak, he left after getting what he wanted. Feeling used, she then sent him out of her house. The next day, Zaki arrives at his office and has a brief conversation with his secretary, Kate, before heading into his office. Meanwhile, we meet a married woman named Catherine, who is trying to appear attractive for her husband, Dave. As a birthday surprise, she seduces him and they make love, but it lasts less than 10 seconds. Catherine pretends to enjoy the moment, but ends up going to the restroom to satisfy herself using erotic videos. The next day at work, Catherine confides in her best friend Carrie about the lack of intimacy in her marriage. Catherine hasn't felt truly satisfied, though she still loves Dave. She doesn't know how to fix things. Carrie advises her to see a professional therapist, mentioning that her own sister saved her marriage that way. Catherine considers the suggestion. Later that day, Kate receives a call from a client wanting to book a session. She collects the necessary details. That evening, Catherine tells her husband about the therapist who could help save their marriage. Dave refuses at first, claiming he already does everything she wants. But when Catherine confesses that she lacks sexual satisfaction and threatens to leave if he doesn't attend the session, Dave reluctantly agrees. The next day, Catherine and Dave arrive at the therapy center, where they are greeted by Zaki, who is in charge of the sessions. After exchanging pleasantries, they proceed to his office. The session starts off well until Catherine voices her dissatisfaction in their intimacy. Zaki asks a question that sparks an argument between the couple. To manage the tension, Zaki requests permission to schedule individual sessions for both of them, which they agree to. He sees them off and instructs his secretary to arrange their separate appointments. Dave remains uncomfortable with the idea, but Catherine pleads with him, and they return home together. Kate came to see her boss in the office regarding the separate appointments he had approved, which went against company policy. However, because the clients were special cases, he gave her a brief explanation. She returned to her desk, while he continued his secret interest in Catherine. That day, Catherine arrived at the office with Carrie, who jokingly advised her to do something crazy with her therapist, and they laughed as they enjoyed their moment together. Meanwhile, Dave met up with some friends at a restaurant. He confided in them about his wife's sessions with the therapist and how she had kept the situation hidden from him for so long. His friends reassured him that Catherine still loved him, which comforted him a bit. The next day, Catherine got to work and received a message from her husband that lifted her spirits. That same day, Zaki planted a hidden camera in his office. Then he went to speak with Kate, who hadn't yet received a response from Catherine. He instructed her to reschedule Catherine's appointment, but Catherine showed up shortly after. Zaki began the session with Catherine and started asking deeper, more personal questions that made her uncomfortable. Still, she opened up about how her husband doesn't satisfy her sexually and how she often has to finish on her own. The session grew intense. Then Kate came in to notify Zaki that other clients were waiting. Before Catherine left, Zaki gave her an assignment. After welcoming the next client, Zaki briefly held Catherine by the shoulder, which left her lost in thought. Kate called her attention, and she left. Later, after Zaki had finished with his last client, Kate informed him about Catherine. He explained that he was only trying to help her work through her issues. However, he warned Kate that if she didn't stay professional, he might have to replace her. So, what do you think is going through Catherine's mind right now? Do you believe this kind of therapy session can end well? Share your thoughts in the comments as we follow the rest of the story. That same night, Zaki secretly followed Catherine without her knowing. Later, while Catherine was in an erotic moment by herself, she began imagining Zaki, only to suddenly realize it was actually her husband, which shocked her. The next morning, Catherine and Dave got into an argument because, once again, their intimacy was brief and unsatisfying. Later that day, while Catherine was on a call with a client, Kate came over for a chat. Catherine gave her an update on how things were going in her marriage. During the conversation, Kate said something that provoked Catherine. In response, Catherine gave her some blunt advice. Kate apologized, and they agreed to go out together after work. Meanwhile, Zaki was rewatching footage from the hidden camera in his office, capturing his session with Catherine. Feeling conflicted, he decided to take some time away. He instructed his secretary to send an apology message to all clients whose appointments were scheduled during that time. Zaki waited patiently as Catherine noticed Zaki's presence. She became tense when he approached to greet them. After the brief introductions, Kate politely excused herself to give them a moment alone. Zaki mentioned that her husband, Dave, had missed his scheduled session, which he had to cancel. Catherine then shared the argument she and Dave had at home, which stemmed from their ongoing intimacy issues. Zaki gently encouraged her to continue working with her husband to improve things. Later that evening, at home during dinner, Dave tried to explain to Catherine that he had never intended to go to the therapy session. He said that everything he had done so far was for her sake, yet she still blamed him for not showing up. Their conversation escalated into an argument, and Dave stormed out. Meanwhile, Zaki was at a hotel, engaging in a fling with a random woman. At some point, he imagined the woman was Catherine, which startled him and brought him back to reality. The next day, Catherine arrived very early at Zaki's office, asking to see him urgently. Zaki asked his secretary to cancel all his appointments for the day. Inside his office, Catherine poured out her pain, expressing how her husband's behavior had changed toward her. Zaki tried to comfort her, then took the opportunity to touch her, which she actually wanted. But just as things started to escalate, Carrie suddenly entered and interrupted the moment, prompting Catherine to leave. Soon after, Zaki received a call from Dave, accusing him of giving misleading information to his wife. Zaki tried to explain himself, unaware that his secretary was listening in on the call via the company phone. She overheard how Zaki had been interfering in their marriage. Just then, a client whose session was about to begin arrived. Zaki greeted the client, then told his secretary to schedule another meeting with Catherine for the next day. The secretary tried to stop him, but caught herself and let him leave. Later, Catherine tried calling Dave to talk, but he didn't answer. Not long after, Kate walked in. Catherine shared her worries about her husband, but Kate started advising her to give up on him altogether. Catherine didn't take the advice well. It felt like the whole idea of seeing a therapist had been a setup from the start. Upset and angry, she stormed out, leaving Kate behind. Afterward, Kate called Dave. The next day, while Zaki was rewatching footage of his moment with Catherine, his secretary was secretly listening in from the background. She soon came into his office to update him about Catherine not responding to her messages. But instead of leaving, she confronted him, accusing him of having an affair with Catherine and admitting that she had been spying on him. Zaki became furious. Enraged by her accusations, he fired her on the spot and threw her out of his office. In his anger, he even followed her downstairs, and after forcing her out, he smashed his desktop computer in a fit of rage and stormed out. Later, Carrie returned to the office while everyone was gone. She went straight to Zaki's office. While looking around, she discovered the hidden camera and the footage stored on it. She was completely shocked by what she saw. Meanwhile, Zaki had followed Kate to a bar without her knowing. He insisted on speaking with her, and eventually, she agreed. Zaki asked for her help in convincing Catherine to come back for her session. The conversation quickly turned into a heated argument. Zaki then manipulated Kate by suggesting that Catherine knew who her husband was cheating with, and that he did too. Kate excused herself to the restroom to calm down, but while she was away, Zaki accessed her phone and took photos of her chat with Dave. By the time Kate returned, Zaki had already left. That same night, Catherine was on a call with Zaki. He tried to win her over, telling her he had proof that her husband was having an affair with another woman. Catherine didn't believe him and abruptly ended the call, warning him that she would call the police. Still obsessed, Zaki called her again. Elsewhere that night, Kate returned home, where Dave thanked her for letting him stay over the previous night. But then Kate told him that Zaki had discovered that Catherine knew everything, that both of them knew. Dave became visibly worried. Just then, He received a call from Carrie, who revealed that Zaki had recorded his wife. Alarmed, Dave got up to leave. Kate tried to stop him, but he told her flatly that he had never liked her, and never would. As he tried to walk away, Kate struck him on the head. He collapsed, unconscious. A short time later, Zaki visited Catherine to speak to her about her husband. He showed her the chat between Kate and Dave. Catherine was stunned. That night, Kate came to Catherine's house, hoping to speak with her, but Catherine refused. Suddenly, Kate spotted Zaki and assumed they were having an affair. She insisted on talking to Catherine, who had already told her to enjoy her time with Dave instead. Zaki then told Catherine that they should get rid of Kate. He shoved Kate to the ground and pointed a gun at her. Catherine pleaded for her life. Zaki then demanded that Kate confess everything, specifically the full truth about her relationship with Dave. Kate confessed that she had been with Dave ever since he and Catherine separated and that she was pregnant with his child. However, after a huge argument, she suffered a miscarriage. Catherine was heartbroken upon hearing this and insisted on leaving the premises immediately. But Zaki handed her a gun and told her to use it to take revenge on Kate for all the pain she had caused. Catherine took the gun and, in a moment of rage, pulled the trigger, aiming at Zaki. Unbeknownst to her, the gun wasn't loaded. Zaki then took the gun back and pointed it at Kate just as she tried to flee with Catherine. He pulled the trigger. Catherine managed to escape, running for her life. Outside, she found her husband and told him everything about Zaki. Dave rushed inside and got into a brutal fight with Zaki. It was violent and bloody. In the chaos, Zaki aimed his gun at Catherine as she was getting into a car, but she drove straight into him before he could shoot. Moments later, they were all rushed to the hospital, where doctors did everything they could to save them. Hours passed. When Catherine finally woke up, her husband was by her side, telling her how much she meant to him and vowing to cherish her from that day forward. She smiled faintly, apologized, and then took her last breath. It was a heartbreaking moment for Dave. Months later, Zaki was seen continuing his therapy sessions. His new secretary called to inform him that clients were waiting. The message of this story is powerful. Don't let third parties interfere in your marriage. A lasting relationship takes two committed hearts. Never trust someone who encourages you to go behind your partner's back or do something harmful. Be a loving husband or wife, and always communicate with your spouse with wisdom and understanding. So guys, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more of our latest stories.